Up next, it's Ben Williams. Ben is a seasoned real estate and workplace professional with a demonstrated history spanning nearly 2 decades, working across both consultancy and client side. Now corporate real estate and workplace consultant at TerraNOVA, Ben will provide a regional COVID-19 property update and give commercial tenants some excellent strategy advice for both now and post-COVID-19.
Good morning and welcome to today's talk. Firstly, a massive thank you to Steve, Matt and the Silicon Brighton team for organising this event. You know, it's been amazing to see the response from the Brighton and Hove community and in general just supporting each other during this unprecedented time. Before we start, just a quick intro into my background. You know, my name is Ben Williams. I've been working in commercial property and workplace for more than a decade now across a spectrum of different companies, both large and small. My experience spans both property portfolio management, such as facilities management, design and project management, as well as handling acquisitions, disposals and lease negotiations. My company is called TerraNOVA. We are a tenant-focused commercial property agency who specialise in finding, negotiating and managing workplaces. So today's discussion begins with some key outputs that I've gathered about what's happening here in the Southeast, followed by a recap of strategies that you may recognise from pre-COVID times, and an outline of options that you could consider in this post-COVID period, while ending with a brief look at how TerraNOVA could help you. As Thomas Edison said, there's a better way of doing it, we just have to find it. So I wanted to start today by sharing some of the insights we are coming across from our discussions with companies about the challenge we're currently facing. At the same time, I'm also researching and reviewing new practices coming out from major consultancies and their practical application to tomorrow's workplace. So, understanding the data when wait and see is no longer an option. We have now been in lockdown for over 5 weeks. That's a long time on an immediate level, but very early when trying to assess the midterm impact. Typically, you know, businesses are holding off making any major decisions right now. However, what will be very interesting is when waiting is no longer an option and, you know, the decisions that need to be made. You know, I'm sure it won't come as a surprise that the most common conversations, you know, we're having at the moment are based on conserving cash flow, risk management. Strategies including, you know, rent deferment, requesting rent-free periods, you know, re-gearing leases and terminations. However, as previously mentioned, you know, it's still really early and every business situation is unique. So what's optimal for one may not be a good fit for another. We are offering clients a free of charge review of their lease and their individual position. Depending on their specific situation, we've advised some clients to wait and see and others to be more aggressive in their approach to discussions with the landlord. So, what will the new office look like post-COVID? Well, this is something that every company wants to know now. You know, a trend which won't change is all businesses will continue to look at cost of property and ways in which they can reduce or mitigate this moving forwards. We think that co-working spaces will eventually benefit from corporates allowing employees to work from home more often and will provide stipends that, you know, will be used at local co-working spaces. And for SMEs, you know, we think that, you know, they will continue to focus on flexibility and space as a service models, which better align with their business strategies. So, what were the priorities pre-COVID? Cost, flexibility, and workplace optimization all featured really highly on the agenda for most businesses. Maximising office space utilisation using smaller desks was a common strategy to accommodate growth and drive down the cost per person, while startups and scale-ups, on the other hand, frequently chose co-working options. The reason for this? Mainly because of the flexibility from a contract perspective. No upfront capital required for fit-out and relatively low deposits. Interestingly, we were starting to see more SMEs move from co-working spaces into lease space with a preference for plug and play. Plug and play has become quite a popular strategy used by landlords for space in the sub 5,000 square foot market. What we're also seeing was a fundamental shift from landlords starting to reduce the lease length in some cases, and in some cases moving to short form leases to compete against the co-working industry. So what we're seeing and hearing from our clients is that cost is still a focus, as it's always been, and opportunities to lower rents and operational cost is the priority. For example, there are ways in which you can achieve savings by leveraging your lease terms. A shameless plug here, but using a tenant agent will help you to identify the opportunities. Those who have break dates and lease expiries either now or in the next 12 to 18 months can leverage the current market conditions. Why? Well, simply landlords will want to retain tenants where possible, and managing vacancy will be the main priority. Business rate relief and the grants available are a must. Many businesses who have been affected by COVID and have a commercial lease are entitled to some form of business rate relief. For retail and leisure businesses, this means exemption. For some office and industrial, this is in the form of a grant or empty rate relief. It's definitely worth checking with your local authority to see what you're entitled to. There is currently a discussion being had at the moment that could mean businesses who rent space and service to co-working offices may be entitled to the small business grant. More remote working. We are currently in the largest working from home experiment ever conducted to date. Prior to COVID, we were using and experimenting with remote working, maybe up to 1 or 2 days a week. Apart from the personal benefits of working from home, the data also suggests that people who work from home 1 to 2 days a week have up to 42% lower carbon footprint than those who travel into the office. In addition to that, companies who have these types of work from home policies have as much as 20 to 40% reduction in space needs. Now, what is really interesting is that traditional organisations feel that they will lose control of people, when often what happens is more people are more engaged and have a better experience because they choose to come into the office and actually curate their experience and the day. Flexibility. We believe that the demand for flexibility in leases or service agreements and office design will be the main focus for businesses moving forwards. And this is where there is a huge disconnect with landlords, who typically focus on security, large deposits, and long lease duration. Some landlords understand tenants' requirements and are willing to work together to make the transition as easy as possible by pre-installing things like fibre connectivity, data infrastructure, kitchens, and offering furniture packages. Workplace optimization. Well, the themes we feel could be important to focus on. Will we see more space allocated to each desk in the short term as we transition to the new office post-COVID? Some of the things that are being advocated is to space out desks to encourage social distancing, which is aligned with the advice from numerous governments. Air filtration systems are also being looked at. While COVID is not necessarily considered to be primarily an airborne pathogen, the evidence suggests that increasing spend on air quality management in buildings by as little as £1 per square foot can in some instances see up to 50% impact on cognitive performance. A good example of an industry that understands this well is casinos. They pump fresh air in as they realise increasing cognitive performance means people stay longer and gamble more. We're also seeing that some office buildings in China are using heat scanners at entrances to buildings to determine whether people have a raised temperature, which may be an indicator of infection. And finally, extra measures are being taken when cleaning offices, and frequency is being increased in some instances. Will this encourage people to social distance, and how will people react when starting to use the offices again? Will the new office look like the 6-foot office showcased recently by Cushman & Wakefield? Possibly, but only time will tell. So where do we go from here? So keep an eye out, as we'll be sharing more info on how you can implement some of the strategies mentioned previously, and some potential solutions we feel could assist businesses in returning to the office. So we offer a number of services which you can see on the screen. The most relevant today are lease consultancy and occupancy planning. If you'd like to know more, please feel free to send me an email or connect to me via LinkedIn. In closing, we think the office is here to stay. It's one of the many tools that businesses use to showcase their brands and their culture, and it's a place where people come to meet and collaborate. However, it will probably look different, that's for sure. As part of the Silicon Brighton initiative, TerraNOVA are offering a free of charge review of your situation to see if any of the strategies we've discussed today might be of use. We're great listeners, so please get in touch. As a reminder, I'm Ben Williams, and you can get in touch using the details currently visible, or alternatively connect with me on LinkedIn.